So we are really lucky to have one of our instructors, our professors from the New Mystic College of Asheville, to come today to our meetup. Reka Gregory holds a master's in human development with a specialization in parent community work. She is a professor of early childhood education at Blue Mountain Community College in Pendleton, Oregon, in the United States, with 40 plus years of her career in education, including curriculum development, teaching, consulting, and work in parent education and early intervention with children 0 to 5 years with disabilities. She's the founder and board chair of Pine Eagle Community Preschool in Halfway, Oregon, and the founder and co-director of Harmony Home Nature Camp, part of Pine Eagle Art Camp, a summer program serving students of all ages. And she's also a professor of New Mystic College of Asheville. And many of you know her from there. All right, I'm going to let her take it away. Go ahead. And maybe we can pin her, right? Krishna Prema. Okay.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Great to see everyone. Um, this is a subject very near and dear to my heart, as many of you know. I've been working in nature education for the last 25 years, and it has changed. Let me tell you, it has changed a lot in that time period. So I'll be focusing on a couple aspects of it today. I think I'd like to go ahead and get going with my presentation. Oh, before we do, I want to do a quick poll if you're ready to do that, Krishna Prema. I'm curious right now, we've got two questions. How many of you are currently working in schools? And if you are working in a school, is it nature-based? And what I mean by nature-based, that can be on a continuum. Maybe you do spend a lot of time outdoors and do things specifically related to nature, or maybe you do just a little bit, but I guess we're just asking yes and no here. I'm just curious to know our numbers on these two questions.
And
So
the
if you could fill that out, please.
plating, the first response for question one is yes, and the second one is no. Same thing, the second question, the first response is yes, and the second is no.
Reka, can you see the results?
No, I don't see results.
Okay, so far we've got 5 people that say yes, they teach in schools, 10 that say no, and of those 5, we have 2 that would consider themselves in a nature-based, and 10 that do
Okay.
not.
Very good.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna end the poll.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback. Of those 2 that feel they're working in nature-based schools, could we hear from you, please? Tell us about your situation. I know, Damini, you are probably one of them.
Yes. So, namaskar. I'm part of the project in Portugal of the school here, and it's totally nature based. I'm at the spot right now. This is Cork Forestry, and yeah, since last April that we have been bringing children here, and that we do several activities, especially with visitors that come to be with us, like schools that are from the neighborhood. And we are in contact with the city hall to be able to bring more public schools to spend one day with us here in the outdoor. So that's our want to aim for, because we have been having the difficulty of really be able to run this like an everyday school. So now we are focusing on visitors or birthday parties or other kind of events that people would like to host in nature. So we have the perfect spot for it.
Hey, that's a great way to start, actually, if you're introducing something that's new. At our nature camp, we do get field trips and different things from different groups as well. Um, who's the other person that said they work in a nature-based school? Could we hear from you too? Or you could respond in the chat if you don't want to talk. Well, if we're not going to hear it, okay, I'll go ahead and share my presentation. Let's see. How do I get out of here? Hmm. Okay, I'm almost there. And share. And slideshow. Okay. All right. Well, the basic theme here today is how do we get out there and make these things happen, creating nature-based schools. And to get there, we've got some interesting ways to look at this. And I'll start us off with a wonderful quote from P.R. Sarkar. Education is perfect knowledge of what I am and what I should do. And how wonderful that he's giving us this remarkable philosophy of NHE that makes us self-guided learners and who become aware of the perfect knowledge of what I am and what I should do. We'll be looking today at some of the benefits and components of a nature-based program, at awareness and appreciation of our natural world, what are inquiry-based approaches, and how do we go about creating change and getting people to come to these kinds of schools and to get on board with the importance of a life in nature and nature awareness. What are some of the barriers to this kind of transformation? What are some of the questions to consider? What are some of our available resources? What are the current trends and news? I've got some good ones for you. And what are some of the first steps you can take? Like if you're working, for example, in a traditional school, how can you begin to introduce more of a nature approach? And of course, embodied with our neo-humanistic education approach, which fits so nicely because we are out there teaching about reverence and respect for all animate and inanimate life. So a lot of times when people think of being outdoors, they think, okay, we're going to go out and play a game. We're going to have physical education and primarily focus on children using their muscles and strength training. And that's what it's for, is recess. Give the teachers a break, get the kids outside. That's what people traditionally think of being outdoors, right? But in a nature-based approach, we're really spending a lot of time creating a sense of awareness and appreciation for nature and a sense of environmental stewardship, taking care of the land. We spend lots of time outdoors doing all kinds of studies, things that you might normally consider that we would do indoors. Reading, writing, math, why not do it outdoors? Art, music, all these things can happen outdoors. Now, there's another term that's thrown around a lot, and that's place-based. In a place-based approach, you're studying your specific location and spending a lot of time with what's called project-based learning. So, for example, at the River School in Australia, they do a lot of creek restoration because there's a creek that runs right there. And, other places might study the kinds of crops that are being grown and be involved in a more kind of farm kind of based thing, not necessarily nature. Nature based is looking mostly at places that are untouched, right? But in place based, depending on where you are, you might spend some time doing more gardening and agriculture, things like that. But the two work very well together. And those are terms I've seen used a lot lately. So, for example, here would be both nature based and place based, where the children are perhaps restoring some of the native plants in their area. And when I do my nature camp, I really focus on helping children develop a relationship with different aspects of nature. Like, oh my gosh, I love this tree. I want to climb it. I want to spend time appreciating and loving this being. And we spend a lot of time helping children relax, and enjoy and develop a true relationship with the natural world. So, what are some of the benefits to nature-based programs? And by the way, anytime you might have a question or comment, please feel free to drop it into the chat. And we'll have time at the end for some small groups to discuss. So we've heard a lot, I think, in the last few years with regards to benefits to nature-based programs. They build a sense of relaxation, relationship building with the natural world, develop a sense of discovery, have increased sensory awareness of all the things around you, increased focus levels, self-confidence, and develop a sense of teamwork. And there's a lot of research into the benefits of vitamin N or vitamin nature to reduce ADHD and increase a positive mental health outlook. Richard Louv, who wrote Last Child in the Woods, which was a groundbreaking book that came out in 2006, really helped bring attention to these kinds of benefits. But he also coined the term nature deficit disorder to explain how some children just go nuts when they're inside, but they do really well when they're outside. So it makes a big difference in calming people down and giving them more focus when they might exhibit attention deficit disorder kinds of things inside a regular classroom. And plus, when you're outdoors in nature, learning becomes very meaningful and exciting, especially if you are solving problems like how can we create a little shelter over here? Or how can we clear this brush out of the way so we can get through to those trees? How can we do some trail maintenance? All kinds of fun things to work together on. So at Nature Camp, we've developed a very interesting curriculum that's centered around these 7 nature skills. And I show this photograph here of a music area. This is not from our camp, but since I'm a musician, I especially enjoy doing music time outdoors in nature. And this is an example of a program that had a beautiful set of instruments that are weatherproof that children can play in the out of doors. I just love that. But I do a whole presentation on how we address these particular nature skills, I call them. And you know, last time I presented this, I think it was Aditi who commented, wow, Reka, you actually include love nature as a nature skill. And it's true. Most of these things come naturally to children, although more naturally to certain ones than others that might have that strength or multiple intelligence called naturalistic intelligence that are a little more tuned in. But we find when the children come for our summer nature camp that we have to practice these skills, and the children love it. We practice working on focusing, looking closely. How do we approach certain discoveries we make? How do we touch them? How do we smell? How do we walk softly? And how do we really quiet our minds and our voices so that we can completely pay attention and not miss a thing that we might encounter on the nature trails? And loving nature, oh my gosh, we love to hug the trees and pick up trash, recycle, you know, all the things we can do to take good care of the natural world and be good stewards. So nature-based programs in the news, and this is remarkable stuff.
Reka,
You know,
can I
yes,
interrupt you for a
yes.
second? Anadi Antonelli, I put the instructions how to get into the captions in Italian in the chat for you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. So you've got that in the chat. Very good. This is amazing news. So there's a lot of completely outdoor programs like Domini's that are out there. In fact, one of the most famous is a preschool up in the rainforest near Olympic National Park in Washington, which is like the rainiest place on the planet. But they have a completely outdoor preschool there. There's a little log cabin they can go into if they really need to get out of the weather. But most days, the children want to be outdoors and they're running around and they're sometimes barefoot and they're climbing trees and totally doing things that, speaking of barriers, might really bother some people. They might think that's a real barrier to having a good program, but the children would never tell you that. And the teachers, they love working there. But up until recently, there were no licensing regulations for programs like that. But now there are. There's 2 states. Oregon, where I live, has just become the second state to create actual licensing regulations for these programs. And that would include completely outdoor schools like the one I just mentioned, and also these wonderful ones called mobile traveling schools that have a van and they take the kids and go to different parks and different natural areas for their program. But now there's licensing for them, which can really ease a lot of parents' minds about it being unsafe. So I think this is real good progress. And it also really shows the importance of these kinds of programs, that they're actually being regulated. And this is brand new news. The Los Angeles Unified School District, which is the largest in the whole country, just created certified Nature Explore outdoor classrooms for all their preschools. The Nature Explore outdoor classrooms were started at Arbor Day Farm in that state that I can't remember. Someone from my classes will remember. Anyway, it's in the middle of the country, in the Midwest, and uh, they go around and help programs start outdoor classrooms. And the LA Unified School District decided that all of their preschool classrooms, that's probably 100 classrooms all over their huge county, are going to be outdoor classrooms. And that means the Nature Explore folks from Arbor Day went out and helped them set these up. So that's pretty exciting. That means almost all the learning in those classrooms is going on outdoors. And within our Ananda Marga system, one of our neo-humanist schools that's in Portland, Oregon, New Day School, has a wonderful outdoor section of there. They have 2 acres that's absolutely beautiful. And this is a section from their website that talks about the benefits of nature-based preschools. It's a common sense education focusing on holistic development, rooted in nature-based learning, hands-on activities, which enhances academic performance, physical health, and emotional well-being. Research supports the benefit of nature preschools, highlighting improvements in academic achievement, physical activity, and stress reduction. By learning in a natural environment, children gain a safe and enriching experience that fosters their growth. And here's where I'd like Krishna Prema to take it away so we can look at a few photographs from New Day School. I'd like you to see their playground. So I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, thanks, Krishna Prema.
Are you seeing that okay?
I am, but could you make it slideshow, please?
It is, mine's on slideshow, but I can
Oh, ours is not, huh?
Okay, let me, and I'll start again.
Yeah, it's still on small.
Huh, and mine is showing slideshow.
What if you clicked on the picture on the tab on the left? If you clicked on that, would that change it?
I have no idea why. Sometimes I don't know. Google Slides don't do very well with Zoom, but I'll try again.
Okay, how strange. Okay. So this school is pretty remarkable. My grandson got to go there for 2 years, and they applied when they needed a new building. They applied for a grant through the local power company to be a net zero building with a special HVAC system, so they use very little energy to heat or cool the buildings. It's really stunning. And so they have this beautiful indoor section with gorgeous windows, but then I wanted to share their outdoor area with you. in these slides. It's still strange, but well, I guess we can just see it the best we can.
Okay, start slideshow. Let's see.
Okay.
Is it still small?
No, it's still loading, it says.
Oh, it's totally on my screen. Yeah, I know. Let me.
Well, guess I could try it on my end too.
I don't know what is going on. Yeah.
Yeah, now it says it's just loading. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, let me try. And if I can't, then we'll just do it small on your end. But I think that let me go ahead and see if I can get it loaded in.
Okay. I'm gonna stop
Sorry about
sharing
that.
then.
Okay. Um, uh-oh, how do I get back there? All right, let's see. Hmm. Okay, I think I might be able to do this. Where is share? Hmm. Okay, how's that?
Yep, it's showing.
All right. So it's a really remarkable playground, as you can see. It's enormous. And I'm just trying to give a good sense here of some of the options that are available for the children. And a teacher challenge was solved where how do they communicate with each other without yelling? They use walkie-talkies in this place. Um, a lot of the things you see on this playground were developed and built by parents and the whole community, designed and built in stages over the years. And they have separate garden sections for the children to work in, and a very large sandbox that's remarkable with lots of natural materials, as you can see. Now, why is there a net placed over the sandbox at the end of the school day? To dissuade the neighborhood cats from coming and using it as a litter box. That solved it. Now, this is the outdoor block building area, and there's some amazing things that get built here. I've seen children build huge shelters and forts for themselves to go into. It provides a lot of challenge and fun. These are 2.5 to 6-year-olds that are in this space. There's a lot of places to relax and be by yourself or in small groups, and very aesthetically beautiful, as you can see. And then separate garden spaces for each class. Plus, they have a special garden curriculum they use that they're actually working on publishing right now. I hope they'll have it out for us soon. This shows a parent that showed the kids how to do willow weaving from the willow branches, and doing planting activities indoors that they could then take outdoors. Again, so aesthetic. Look at how the beautiful things they do. This place has been running since 1976, so these gardens have been around for a while. And then they were able to build this beautiful natural structure out of cob, which was part of an alternative building community project. It has a little outdoor oven, a little pizza oven, a mosaic that represents Brahma Chakra, and a tree of life that they were able to put on the side of it. That's the indoors of the Cobb House. Okay. I'm going to go back to the other one. And it won't go away. Okay, can you see this now? Are we good with the last three other
Yes,
slides?
yes.
Okay. All right. So here's another example of a school that actually my same grandson who went to New Day is now going to a place-based elementary school, also in Oregon. It's called Muddy Creek. Now, remember I mentioned about barriers to these programs. So Muddy Creek, to get in, you have to be in a lottery. And if they pick your name, then you get to be in the school. And it's a choice, it's a charter school, so it's free, part of the public education system, but you have to apply and to be in it. But now that my grandson is going there and he loves it, he's 8 years old and really enjoying it, this place-based program, other parents that my daughter talks to say, oh, well, that's nice, but it's not a real school. They think of it as more of a summer camp. But you know what? Their reading and math scores and writing scores are the highest in the district. But nobody believes it's a real school just because they go out and do creek restoration and do service projects and have buddy systems where the older kids come and help the younger kids. Here's some of the information about it. It says they do hands-on learning, project learning activities, and um, it's a place-based, project-based mission that they do. So it's surprising that people don't like it that much, but it's a great school. So what are some of the first steps you can take if you're wanting to become a more nature-oriented program? The first thing I tell people is set up a nature table, like a science center that's inside your classroom, that would include things that you find outdoors in nature, things that you can study them with, like magnifying glasses, different kinds of science materials that encourage that sense of discovery, and that children can get used to bringing in things to add to the table, like they find a feather or a shell, something they'd like to share, or a rock. Start looking at some small changes you can make that emphasizes growth, change, plants, animals, weather, other nature-based curricula that you can infuse with NHE philosophy. Might be some stories that go with it, things that you can use as opportunities to talk about how we love nature and how we can help the earth and help the planet. Work on creating a planting activity that leads to a playground garden. Bring in some books about nature, which could lead to storytelling and movement activities. Start going on regular nature walks and include parents in all your ideas and efforts because we want to get them on board. And also, I want to add, you want to get yourself on board. Sometimes you have your own barriers to this kind of thinking. Some people may be trained as a teacher in a more traditional way, thinking that the only learning that takes place is indoors. So you want to start working on getting yourself out of that way of thinking. Or maybe you're the kind of person who really doesn't want to be around insects and worms and things that the children might find on the playground. And I myself, I get a little frightened around bees, but when I'm with children, I make myself get past that so that we can study bees together and not be afraid of them. So this is the kind of inner work some people really need to be aware of and to do so that you're completely in that space where children are in a discovery sense of wonder and you want to join them in that sense. So what are some of the next steps after you get past those beginnings? Look at ways to create a nature-based outdoor environment. You just saw some examples of an amazing one at New Day School. But what are some small steps you can do to start working on that in your own space? There's some great resources out there. I mentioned the Nature Explore people. They have a great website. There's a group called the Natural Start Alliance, and there's a website called Children and Nature Network that is just tons of good information. Plus, you can talk to your local nursery and landscapers. Sometimes they love to come out and volunteer their help or give suggestions. In addition to garden space, how about adding a greenhouse or what I call an herbal nature trail, something that's fun for the kids to walk around that has things that they can smell and taste. Bring many of your classroom activities outdoors and go outdoors in all weather. You know, there's a saying that there's no bad weather, there's only inappropriate clothing. So that's where you can educate your parents about how they can dress their children. Or I've known some schools that invest in completely weatherproof rain sets for everyone. And hold parent and staff workshops about the benefits and importance of nature-based schools and include the community in that effort too. So what are your ideas and takeaways and your next steps in transforming your classroom or other learning environment? So here's where we can get in great breakout groups and put our heads together on these things.
Reka, the one challenge with breakout rooms is not many people put what language they're in. So I'm
What
Uh-huh.
I do is just do one breakout group that are the